Hello guys, I'm Mella, and today I have a fun DIY for you. It's going to be a candle tutorial. We're going to use candle molds to make cute little candles to go in your room or wherever. So if you're interested, stay tuned. These are the candle supplies. We have a pot, a melt pot, candle wax molds, some soy wax flakes, candle wicks, clothespins. I have piercing tools, and of course some fragrance. I also have a portable burner on the table. For this first part, I'm going to pierce our candle molds to put the string through. So we need our clothespins, piercer, and the molds. Find the center of the mold and pierce a hole through it. You're going to try to get it big enough to fit the candle wicks through, but not too large so that the wax spills through. It is going to be a little tricky to get your wick inside of the hole, but you can do it. Just work at it. Then you're going to take your clothespin to keep it up and put it to the side. I struggled with it for a little bit, but I finally got it in. I bought my candle molds from Amazon. These are the soy wax flakes. I got them from candlescience.com. So I have a pot filled with a small amount of water, and then we'll put the melt pot inside of that to make a double boiler. Then I'll add my wax flakes. I probably should have added my wax flakes before I put it in the pot, but it's fine. I turn the boiler on high so that I can melt the wax. The wax flakes are starting to melt. You'll see here. As it melts, you'll see that the wax does look less white and more yellowish. I don't have an official stir for my wax, so I'm just using a butter knife. There's no fragrance in here, and I don't use this butter knife for cooking anymore. I do like to stir the wax around occasionally while it's melting, otherwise it'll clump up, and it just takes it a little bit longer to melt, and I'm impatient. The wax is about halfway melted. Now the wax is fully melted. It's a little steamy over here. Now that it's nice and melted, I'm going to take it out of that hot pot and lie it on a towel. So this is the point where you want to add your fragrances. You really should have a thermometer for this, but I don't, so I'm just going to add it. And I'm going to freehand it. You should measure. These fragrances are very strong. You don't need a lot. You'll smell how powerful it is. I'm just going to give it a little mix. I didn't say before, but I melted about 4 cups of soy wax flakes. Now I'm going to pour the wax into our candle molds. Make sure to move the clothespins off to the side so they're out of your pouring area. Be very careful. So I'm just going to fill it up to the top and be very careful. I don't want to overflow. And I poured over wax paper with a little mat underneath so I don't burn the table because the wax is still hot. Afterwards, you want to move your clothespins back to the center because you want your wicks to be right in the center for burning later. Now I'm going to set those to the side for the wax to cool. It only takes a couple of hours for them to cool, but I left mine overnight just to be safe. Now I'm going to prepare my containers for our next scented candles. I'm using a different wick here that is coated with wax so they are stiff and they stand. I also have these little glue dots from the craft store to stick the wicks to the bottom of the container. Now I stick them down in there and try to get them an even width apart. There's a lot of choices when choosing wicks. I chose candles that burned with a width of 2 to 3 inches, and this container is maybe 4 or 5 inches across. So this candle should burn nicely. This next container is one I repurposed from Bath and Body Works, and those are 3 wick candles. So I'm going to do the same. You don't need glue tabs to adhere your wicks to the bottom of the container. You can also use a hot glue gun. These are just convenient. Also, make sure to get your tabs stuck down really firmly. Otherwise, when you start to pour the wax, they'll float up out of place. I've melted another 4 cups of wax flakes. I'm pouring my wax now. I've already added my fragrance. When melting the candle wax, don't forget to use that double boiler method. After these candles are poured, I also let them sit for 24 hours. My camera is going to cut it short because I didn't charge the battery properly, so I'm sorry. Can't re-record. It's already poured. It's the next day and our candles are nice and solid. We're going to trim the wicks. One thing I didn't mention was to make sure you put the wicks where you want them to be, like evenly spaced apart, because after the wax solidifies, it will be too late to correct that mistake. I cut my wicks with scissors. Sometimes if the container is smaller, I use like toenail clippers to clip it. There are official clippers for these wicks, but I just haven't bought one. Now everything's trimmed and neat. Very professional. Now for the candles and the molds. This one came out really good. Everything's nice and neat. So the silicone is wanting to stick to it, but if you just pull it, it comes right loose. I just work it all around, and I'm gonna try to flip the mold inside out to take my candle out. I'm trying to be gentle as I can so that I don't make marks in my candle. I'm just working it all around and popping the rows out one by one. When I get to the middle, I'm just trying to be easy on taking that wick out. I don't know if it could like pull through or not. I'm going to trim the wick from the bottom because we don't need that. And I'm also going to trim the wick a little bit at the top because that wick is a little frayed and it's a little long. Now for my next candle mold. So I made the hole too big for the wick there. I tried to cover up with some like modeling clay, but that obviously didn't work. So some of the wax did leak through. So that's why I was saying just be very careful when you poke that hole, because if it's too big, then you're going to have a mess. And luckily, it's on the wax paper, so the mess is contained. Again, I'm just flipping this silicone mold inside out and popping the candle out in layers. If you have long nails, just be mindful of how you lay your fingers so that you don't scratch the wax and make dents. So this one is also coming out really nice. A little hard to get it off my wick because I put that modeling clay there. I'm going to have to try to clean that off, and also that wax. So here's the finished product. And these jars are from the upcycling video. I finally got around to making the candles to go in there. I love it. Please like and subscribe for more videos just like this.